Hey guys, welcome to Outlaw Edge Blade Works. It's gonna be loud in here because I'm by my fireplace or furnace in the garage, and excuse me, and I'm in my wood room, so it kind of echoes in here a little bit. But this is kind of my sit and read books thinking spot. Sometimes nobody's here tonight, so I'm just gonna ramble along and bore you with some videos. So last week I had a couple buddies of mine out in the woods with me, and I'm not even paying attention. I'm eating some wild edibles and some cambium layer on the trees and whatever, and some different, you know, whatever I could find out there. Just messing around, practicing my skills. And these kids that I was with, I was trying to teach them some skills. And the looks on their face when I showed them a couple things, I think it kind of blindsided them. And I never even thought about it. A lot of these kids nowadays play video games and stuff, and they don't get out into the wild, into the woods. So when they have the chance to learn something like that, it's really special. Like, a lot of kids haven't even seen a fire still, or they haven't been taken out, shown how to make a bow drill fire, or a hand drill fire, or how to make a buck saw out in the woods, or baton firewood with a pocket knife, and make fire just with a knife, splitting the wood down and getting it prepped and doing all that, or making a shelter. And I don't mean to ramble on, but this is just something that was on my mind, so I figured I'd share with you guys. So I was explaining to them some of the wild edibles in the wintertime, summertime, springtime. Everything kind of changes, and you got to know the flowers. And when you're out in the woods, you need to know what kind of leaves they have, what color leaves, if they're furry underneath, if they're not, if they have veins, if they're, what colors are in the stalk of the plant, because those plants can kill you. And then you've got the poison plants like poison oak, sumac, and poison ivy, and all that. And so I'm trying to explain to these kids, some of the skills that are so important nowadays, that if you're out in the woods and you get lost, and I live in the north woods of Minnesota by the Canadian border, and I live in the middle of nowhere. Like, it takes 2 hours, 15 minutes, something like that, just to get to town. And where I live, there's nothing here. It's a little tiny town, less than 200 people, in the boonies, in the middle of the logging capital of Minnesota, And so it's very easy to get lost out in the woods. So when I showed these kids these skills that I learned when I was younger, I mean, it was like just teaching them how to ride a bike. They were so excited, and they wanted to learn more, and that made me excited, because ultimately that's what it's about. When you're, and I'm not old, but when you're an older guy and these young kids are like, hey, I want to, what is that? You gotta give them those skills, because somebody's got to have those skills. In the long run, if nobody teaches them, all that's going to happen is you're going to see these kids texting and playing video games and not using their imagination out in the woods, or in their front yard, or in their garage, messing with fire and trying to learn different skills out of books and whatever. But enough rambling. What I wanted to show you is I have a whole library of books, and I'm not bragging or nothing like that, but my library has tons and tons of wild edible plants, because it will take years, and until the day I die, I'm going to be learning different wild edible plants and stuff that you can use on trees, and how to use them, and different things to use fire and cordage and whatever. But there's tons of stuff in these books to learn, and if you take the time and stop and read some of this stuff, and grab some of these books, order them off the internet, I mean, there's just a plethora of wild edible plant books, and this one's awesome. I like this one, and some of the ones that I grabbed I really like, and I'll show you my favorite one in a minute. But it's awesome to teach these kids these. And so what I'm going to do, I think what I'll do is I'll probably give them like a SAS survival guide, and that kind of teaches them traps and bushcraft survival skills, wild edible plants, poisonous reptiles, animals, spiders. That way they can kind of learn, and they can go home and tell their mom and dads and their grandma and grandpa, hey, I learned how to make fire with sticks, and I learned how to eat these wild berries and whatever. But I did stop those kids, and I told them, look, you can't just go out there and grab something that you think is this and eat it. It will kill you. I explained to them, I told him, hey, you got to learn these things. So get some books, start learning these plants, learning these trees, anything and everything you can when you're out in the woods. And that's all I can do, and that's all we can do. You know, like on YouTube, you guys are always teaching people how to do this stuff, but I think it's awesome. That's what YouTube's about, and I've always thought that. You know, there's a lot of goofy stuff on here, but it's nice to see people teaching skills and whatever. Anyways, I'm rambling on. I'm bored, so I figured I'd talk to you guys. But the other, and this is a big book right here. The other wild edible plant book is this one, and I'm really happy with this one. There's a lot of neat stuff in here, and a lot of color, really detailed pictures. And what I like in this book is they have these little deals in here where when it's poisonous, I can't find it right now, but anyways, when there's a poisonous plant in here, they have a little skull and crossbones in the corner to show you it's poisonous. And if they have the different plants you can make coffee out of, it has a little coffee cup and whatever. But there's some great books out there, and in my library I've got tons of these, but I enjoy reading this stuff, and it's fascinating to me. I'm always out there trying to learn new skills and bushcrafting and whatever. But this is another great book, and there's just lots of colorful pages or pictures, you know, that you can see, because I've looked at other plants in like black and white books and stuff, and I found those plants, and I was like out in the woods, and it looked nothing like in the book. But one of my favorite edible wild plant books is the Peterson Field Guide. And that's this guy right here, and I love it. And there is just a mess load of, there's black and white pictures and just tons of stuff in here that you can learn from. And I have a lot of stuff in here that's circled, and then there's a whole section of wild edible plants that is that's in color, and it shows berries and leaves and what's poisonous, like cow parsnip. I mean, that stuff will kill you. But anyways, so what I do is, years and years and years I've been doing this, and there's a spot in the back where I take and write my notes down of stuff that I've tried, stuff that I know is, you know, that you can eat and use for different medicines, and like salicin and whatever out of willow trees and whatever. Any of that stuff I remember, and I'll write it down in my books, because you have to teach yourself so that you can teach others. But at the same time, you need to know that stuff 100% so you don't get yourself hurt or sick or die, or, you know, get somebody else hurt or sick. But anyways, sorry to bore you guys. I know it's a long, boring video, but like I said, I was bored out of my gourd. Nobody's home, and it's kind of quiet, so I figured I'd come out here and hang out in the garage and goof off. Anyways, take care. Thanks.